Romans chapter 1, verse 20. Might I remind you as I read this, this is 2,000 years old from the Bible. For ever since the world was created, people have seen the earth and the sky through everything God made. They can clearly see his invisible qualities, his eternal power and divine nature. So they have no excuse for not knowing God. Yes, they knew God, but they wouldn't worship him as God or even give him thanks. Do we live in a thankless age? Wow. And they began to think up foolish ideas of how God was like. In other words, they recreated God in their own image. That's a great God to have to approve of all your evils. As a result, their minds became dark and confused. Does that sound familiar? Is our culture confused? Claiming to be wise, they instead became utter fools. And instead of worshiping the glorious, ever-living God, they worshiped idols made to look like mere people and birds and animals and reptiles. That's evolution in reverse. So God abandoned them to do whatever shameful things their hearts desired. As a result, they did vile and degrading things with each other's bodies. Does that sound like the internet? They traded the truth about God for a lie, so they worshiped and served the things God created instead of the Creator himself, who is worthy of eternal praise, amen. That is why God abandoned them to their shameful desires. Do you know any people like this? I do. Even the women turned against the natural way to have sex and instead indulged in sex with each other. Verse 27, and men, instead of having normal sexual relations with a woman, burned with lust for each other. Men did shameful things with other men. And as a result of this sin, they suffered within themselves the penalty they deserved. Internal sickness. That's strong stuff, people. Since they thought it foolish to acknowledge God, he abandoned them to their own foolish thinking and let them do the things that should never be done. Their lives became full of every kind of wickedness. See, it's a slope downward. I'm sorry to read this stuff to you, but this is pure Bible. Sin, greed, hate, envy, murder, quarreling, deception, malicious behavior, gossip. They are backbiters, haters of God, insolent, proud, boastful. They invent new ways of sinning. Verse 31 goes on to say, undiscerning, untrustworthy, unloving, unforgiving. Wow. Unmerciful. Who knowing the